Hello everybody, my name is Davis and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be ranking every mainline Pokemon game. So starting with Alpha Sapphire, I've never actually played Alpha Sapphire. I have played Omega Ruby, but never Alpha Sapphire. I don't own this game. Pokemon Black 2 version, I have played it, and it's a fine game. I'd say B tier. It's not too great, not too terrible. Pokemon Black version, I actually really like. I'm going to say A tier for Pokemon Black. It's not quite S tier just because I don't like Unova as a region overall as a whole. So I can't put it in S tier just because this is the game that takes place in that region. Pokemon Blue version, very solid game. Obviously kicked off the franchise along with Pokemon Red. I'm going to say S tier for Pokemon Blue. Crystal version. I've only played Crystal version once, and it was fine. It wasn't great. I would say C tier. I really don't see too much of a difference between it and Gold and Silver. But yeah, overall, it's not terrible, so C tier. Pokemon Diamond version is an incredible game. I know a lot of people like to complain about the Diamond and Pearl Pokedex, but I think that it's an absolutely amazing game, and I've never really run into an issue with the Pokedex. Emerald version is good, but I actually like the storyline of Ruby and Sapphire better, so it's going to be in the B tier for me, because I still really like it. I like the Hoenn region. Pokemon Fire Red version, an advanced version of Pokemon Red, and our first remake of a Pokemon game ever. This is really solid, and the graphics got way better in between the two. But it's not, like, as good as Pokemon Diamond or anything like that, in my opinion. So, A tier for Pokemon Fire Red. Pokemon Gold is actually a pretty good game, I would say. I say it's like a B tier. I know a lot of people like to hate on this game, but I think it's pretty good. Pokemon Heart Gold, once again, the graphics got way better, but I think it would be kind of weird to put a remake of a game above the original. But I think I like it a little bit more than Gold, but not enough to put it up to the A tier. So I'm going to say B tier for Heart Gold. I mean, they're basically the same thing, just with better graphics, but that's not Gold's fault. It was limited by its time. Next up is Leaf Green, exactly the same as Fire Red for the most part, so obviously A tier for that. Let's Go Eevee. Now, this game was incredible, in my opinion. Honestly, I think it's S tier. I cannot tell myself to find a single thing wrong with it, other than I don't really like how it handles the catching thing. Like, it's okay. I'm not a massive fan of that style of catching. And I've never played Let's Go Pikachu. Pokemon Moon version. Now, I actually don't like Sun and Moon that much, so I'm gonna say it's like a C tier. I don't like how they replace gym leaders. Honestly, I don't really like the Alola region as a whole. I don't like how it's based off Hawaii. It doesn't really work in a Pokemon style game, in my opinion. Like, all of the Pokemon are based off of the fact that it's in the Alola region. Like, they're all Hawaiian Pokemon, and Alolan forms aren't that great, but it's not terrible. I like all Pokemon games, so very few are going to be in the D and F tier, if any. But yeah, it's definitely on the lower end of this tier list. Omega Ruby is absolutely amazing. I love it. It's a perfect Pokemon game in my opinion. I don't see anything they could have done to make this game better. And like I mentioned earlier, the reason it's 2 tiers above Emerald is because I like the story of Ruby and Sapphire better. And the graphics got better in Omega Ruby, and some of the mechanics got better. So S tier for Omega Ruby. I also really like the post game with the whole Delta chapter thing. So yeah, S tier for Omega Ruby. Pearl version is pretty good. I'd say it's S tier. I mean, well, it's not even pretty good. It's incredible, but I was saying compared to Diamond, it's good. I don't like it quite as much as Diamond, but it's still an incredible Pokemon game, so I would say S tier. Platinum version. I love Platinum. I love how hard it is. I think that's an S tier. I like the whole story with Giratina and everything, you know? Pokemon Red, same tier as Pokemon Blue, S tier. It's incredible. Ruby version. Now, I like this game, but I don't like it quite as much as Omega Ruby, because as I mentioned earlier, I like some of the mechanics in Omega Ruby better, and I like the post-game in Omega Ruby better. So I'm going to put regular Ruby in the A tier. This will be one of the rare instances where I put a remake above the original. Sapphire version, same exact opinion. Nothing changes there. I don't think any of the exclusives are big game changers between these two. Silver version, it's okay. I mean, I'd put it 1 tier above Crystal. I mean, I guess it's the same thing as gold, so yeah, it's good. Pokemon Soul Silver, I mean, same tier. Gold and Silver and Heart Gold and Soul Silver aren't too different from each other. Pokemon Sun version, I actually like Solgaleo a little bit better than Lunala, and I like the exclusives a bit more, so B tier for Pokemon Sun, and it was also the third Pokemon game that I ever played, I do believe. Pokemon Ultra Moon, this game is good. I'd say it's B tier. It's not quite up into like the A or S tier region. S is like insanely good, incredible. A tier is really good. B tier is just kind of good, you know? Same thing with Ultra Sun, not too much to change in between these two. And I have never played Pokemon White 2. Pokemon White is a good game. I'd say it's about on par with Pokemon Black, so A tier for Pokemon White. Pokemon X. Now, this is going to be the game that I share the most thoughts of mine with you guys. I love Pokemon X, and I think part of that is just because it was my first Pokemon game, and this is kind of where I started to really like Pokemon. But overall, I just think it's a good game, and I think a lot of people are way too critical on it. Like, yes, it's pretty easy, but nowadays, pretty much all of the Pokemon games are too easy. So just for nostalgia, and it's one of my favorite Pokemon games, even without that, I'm saying S tier for Pokemon X. Pokemon Yellow, it's fine, but Pikachu's not as good as it is in Let's Go, so I'm gonna have to give A tier. Pokemon Y version, same thoughts as Pokemon X, but I didn't play Y until after I played X. X was my first Pokemon game, so I think for that reason I'm just going to put it a little bit above Y. And I also like Xerneas better than Yveltal. Pokemon Shield version, it is a good game, but I mean, compared to these other Pokemon games, it's not anything crazy, so I'm going to say B tier. I like the post game, and it's not terrible, but I was kind of hoping for more out of this game, you know? The trailers made it look so good, and then it was just kind of good, you know? Pokemon Sword version, I played before Shield, but in my opinion, that doesn't change too much, so B tier for Pokemon Sword. These two games are where I started to get a little bit more experienced with Pokemon and a little bit better at the games, so they did kind of help me with that. Anyways, this is my Pokemon games tier list. As I mentioned earlier, there are no Pokemon in the D or F tier, so I mean, I could just delete those. Yeah, I will delete those actually, because relative to the other Pokemon games, if you're in the C tier, then that's like an F tier game for Pokemon. So yeah, this is my Pokemon tier list. If you guys did enjoy this video, then make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.